Okay, I want to ask you something, and I want you to think about it for a second. When was the last time your life and or your business felt aligned? Not productive, not busy, not on track, aligned. Like you were actually living your life on your terms, in your strengths, with your real priorities leading the way. For a lot of women listening right now, and maybe it's you, that question brings up one of two things. Either you can't remember the last time it felt that way, or you have this like vague sense of it, like you have some glimpses, but you couldn't really describe it if someone asked you to. And that's exactly what today's episode is about. Because we talk a lot in this space, in the coaching world, everywhere, about wanting alignment, right? About chasing it, about knowing something's off and needing to get back to it. But here's what I've noticed is that most women can describe their burnout in very vivid detail. The exhaustion, the overwhelm. They can tell me exactly how it feels in their body. They can describe the Sunday dread, the waking up already tired, the guilt that follows them everywhere. But ask them what alignment feels like or what being aligned feels like, and they go quiet. And I think that's part of the problem. Like, if you can't feel it, you can't find your way back to it. If you don't know what it looks like or what it feels like, how can you know how to get to that, right? It's like not having a target. So today, that's what we're doing. We're talking about what alignment actually feels like, not as a concept, not as something maybe you read or been seeing on social media or you've heard me talk about here on the podcast. But I want you to know what it feels like in your body, in your mornings, in your relationships, and the way that you move through a regular Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I'm your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. So here's something I want to distinguish just right off the bat, because I think it matters. Most come to me knowing that they're burned out. Now, they don't actually use those words. I will say that, but they know that's what it is. And I don't know if it's ego or that's a sign of weakness if I admit that I'm burned out, but you know something is off. They can feel it. They know the signs. And one of the first things I ask them is, so what does the opposite of this feel like for you? And then there's like this pause because most of us have been so deep in the burnout cycle for so long that we've actually lost the felt sense, like physically, the felt sense of what it means to not be burned out. We've normalized the exhaustion. We've made peace with the guilt, and we've convinced ourselves that this is just what it costs to be ambitious. But after, nearly 2 decades now as an entrepreneur and a coach, you've heard me say this before, that burnout isn't just doing too much, it's doing too little of what actually fuels you. And that's an entirely different problem to solve because you can cut your to-do list in half and still feel off. I did this with a recent client or a former client where she was still feeling all of these burnout symptoms. And I said, let's do a time audit and let's just look at your time. And it wasn't the amount of hours that she was working. She was barely working a 30-hour week. So you can cut your to-do list in half and still feel off, as she did. You can take a vacation and come back just as depleted. How many have done that? Well, I just need to get away. I just need to go on this vacation, and I come back and you're just as depleted. You can reorganize your schedule. You can hire a VA. You can batch your content and still feel like something's missing or something's off. And here's why, because the schedule isn't the problem. The problem is the misalignment between how you're living, how you're operating, what you actually want, and who you actually are, and the behaviors and the actions that you're actually taking right now. There's a gap there between those two things. There's a misalignment between those things. When you're operating from your strengths, you hear me talk about this on the podcast a lot. When your days are built around your natural energy, you have a natural energy style, and you also have a natural energy capacity. When your days are built around those things, around your real priorities, not what the world tells you should be your priority, or everything feels like a fire you got to put out, and what genuinely matters to you, when your days are built around that, everything feels different. It's not perfect. There are no perfect days. And it's not even that it's easier, but it is different. And what I want to describe that difference for you today, that's what I want to talk about. I want to describe the difference for you today because I believe if you can feel it in your imagination first, like just allow yourself to imagine waking up and feeling aligned versus frazzled, you'll recognize when it starts showing up in your real life. So if you can imagine it first, if you can like really think about it being possible first, then you'll start recognizing it when it shows up in your real life. So I want to just kind of share with you today the 5 shifts that I hear from the women that I've worked with consistently after we do this work together. These aren't necessarily goals they've checked off. They have done that. These are things that they've noticed, that they've felt without always having a name for them. So the shift number 1 they've had is she wakes up and the weight isn't there. You know that feeling of waking up already behind, already feeling overwhelmed, like your nervous system has started running before your feet even hit the floor. Women tell me that one of the first things they notice, sometimes within a couple of weeks, is that the weight starts to lift. And honestly, I have a lot of women that have said, like, the moment they made the decision to get on a clarity call, and then from that clarity call to come into coaching, the moment they made that decision, the weight started to lift. Why? Because they know that they're going to be getting the support. They know that they're making a conscious decision to change. Because it's not that their life got easier, but because they stopped carrying other people's definitions of what their life should look like. Like they start giving themselves permission to think about what they need, think about what they want, think about what how they operate, think about like leading themselves versus allowing other people to do that. When you know your own strengths and you've gotten really clear on your real priorities, you wake up knowing what matters today. You wake up knowing what matters tomorrow. And that clarity is like putting down a bag you didn't realize you've been carrying. You put down the 100-pound backpack that you've been carrying, and it's no longer foggy. It's clear. It's crystal clear what matters today. It's crystal clear what goes on your calendar and what doesn't. It's crystal clear what you're carrying right now and what you're not carrying right now. Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint built from the science-backed personality and performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. Now is the time take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. Shift number 2 is she makes decisions and she moves on. Y'all, indecision is one of the most exhausting things that I work with. And when I say I work with it with myself and with my clients. And it shows up as this constant second guessing. Should I do this? What if I get it wrong? What will people think? Let me just think about it a little bit more. It's all of these open loops, all of these things that have not had a decision made that create so much fatigue. And what they discover in our work together is that most of the indecision isn't actually about the decision. It's that they've lost self-trust. I was just talking to a client about this today. They've lost that self-trust. And when you start realizing, understanding, when you know who you are, when you know what your natural, did you know you have a natural decision-making style? When you know what that is, and you know your natural wiring and your values and what genuinely matters to you in this season, you have a filter to run those decisions through. And decisions that used to take 2 weeks might take 2 minutes. So this particular client said to me, I don't agonize anymore. I just decide. I trust that I'll handle whatever comes next. That is the felt experience of confidence, not the performance of it, but the real thing, like truly believing that I'm going to make a decision and then I'm going to do the work to make it the right decision versus living in the land of indecision, waiting to make sure you're making the right decision. That doesn't mean that she's now making like rash decisions or anything like that. It's just she's very clear on who she is, what she wants, and her priorities. And she also trusts herself that if she makes this decision and maybe it doesn't go exactly as she planned, because how many times does it go exactly how you thought it was going to go? But she trusts herself now. She has her own back now to do the work to make it right, or to make an adjustment, to make a tweak, or to pivot. Shift number 3 is she's present. This one gets me every time. So many high achieving women describe living life in 2 places at once. And maybe you're like, yep, this is totally me. Physically, you're at dinner, but mentally, you're in your inbox. Physically, you're playing a game with your kids, but mentally, you're planning tomorrow. Or you're thinking about what you didn't get done. Physically, in your marriage, but mentally performing a version of yourself that you're supposed to be. You think who you're supposed to be. So alignment creates presence. When you're not constantly managing the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be, you actually show up in your life. You show up present. You don't downplay your strengths. So a lot of women, for this being present, is like that have that higher dominance in their personality. Like they downplay that because people have said that they come across too strong, or, they're too authoritative. And so they downplay that. So they're not showing up fully present as themselves. They're pretending to be someone they're not. That takes energy. Maybe you have higher levels of extroversion and someone's told you you're too much, to quiet down, to sit down. So alignment creates that presence and that confidence to show up as who you are. One of my clients recently told me that she was at one of her son's activities and she actually watched it, like the whole thing. She said, I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't planning. I was just there. I was just present. And she cried when she said it because she realized how long it had been. So how long has it been since you have felt fully present? Being where your feet are. I just did a virtual keynote and I talked about being where your feet are, which was a concept that was shared with me years ago, and it's always stuck with me. Be where your feet are. If your feet are in your office work, if they're with your kids, be with your kids. If they're with your husband, be with your husband. But we've almost like adopted and accepted this idea of multitasking and doing multiple things at the same time. And I can be present and I can do this, but I can also do this at the same time. And it just doesn't work that way. Yeah, you might kind of get more things done, but you probably get more things started, but you don't actually finish them. And then you lose the presence. The moment's gone. The baseball game is over. The gymnastics meet is over. The date night is over. And you weren't fully present. And I'm saying all these things because I've experienced these things too. So I'm not like trying to judge or shame, but I want you to feel the difference of like, and be in possibility of feeling this way, like having that shift and truly being present, not as this idea and that some other mom entrepreneur gets to experience, but no, you get to experience it. Shift number 4 is she says no without spiraling. So I'm big on November and talking about no and flexing your no and honoring your no, and no is a complete sentence. I think you've heard me say that a lot here on the podcast. But that's a true shift that happens, is that she says no without the spiral. If you're a people pleaser and you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance some version of that is real for you. You know the spiral that I'm talking about. Someone asks you to do something and your gut says no, but your mouth says yes. And then you spend the next 3 days resenting them, resenting yourself for saying yes and trying to figure out how to get out of it. And when my clients get clear on their boundaries, when they actually know what they're protecting and why, that spiral stops. And so does the guilt. No becomes a sentence, not a negotiation, not a paragraph of explanation, not a thesis statement you give someone when you tell them no. It's just no. I can't do that. Or that doesn't work for me. And the relief that they feel on both sides of that conversation is one of the most consistent results I see. Is just that relief, that pressure coming off of always being the one people call upon and Miss Dependable. And like, it's like taking that badge of honor off. Not because you're not dependable, but because you've decided that these are my yeses and these are my nos. Hey friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
When I started coaching with Martine, I was extremely burned out, overwhelmed, very stressed, and I knew I needed to make some changes. So I reached out, and over the course of time, she helped me realize that I needed to take back control of my schedule, create boundaries. And then along the way, I had a huge transition in my business, and she helped me figure out my next steps and help me structure a new business. And she's been there for me and been able to help guide me with her advice and her knowledge. Without her, I could not be where I am today.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with 3 times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show. And then shift number 5 is she feels like herself again. This is a constant theme when we work through the aligned success method. And I saved this one for last because it's one of the hardest to kind of put into words. And it's also the one that matters most because so many come to me and they've lost themselves. Not in a dramatic way, but gradually. That was my story. Like I didn't just one day wake up and I didn't know who I was looking at in the mirror. It was a very slow fade, gradual, slowly. They gave a little here, adjusted a little here, shaped themselves to fit everyone else's needs there. And then one day they looked up and they didn't recognize the life they were living. And when we do the work of uncovering their natural strengths, when they see their unique writing on paper through the pro scan and the personalized blueprint experience, we start building their life around who they actually are. And then something comes back. The fun comes back. The excitement comes back. The passion comes back. Not a new version of her, the original one, the one who knew what she wanted before the world told her what she should want. That is alignment, and it's available. It's available to every single one of you that is under the sound of my voice. It is available to you. It is possible for you. It's not for that girl over here or this person over here, or it's available to all of you. So I want to make this really tangible because alignment can feel kind of abstract until you see it in the middle of like an ordinary day. So let me paint kind of two Tuesdays for you. Tuesday in survival mode. See if any of this checks with you. You wake up already scrolling. Your first thought is what you didn't finish yesterday. You get the kids out the door while mentally composing an email. You sit down to work, but you can't focus because you haven't written down what actually needs to happen today. You're in reactive mode, just reacting to whatever shows up first. Someone asks you for something, you say yes because it's easier than having the conversation. You eat lunch standing up, or you forget to eat it all. You hit 3 p.m. and you're foggy and behind and frustrated. And not because you were lazy, because you're not lazy, but because you were busy doing things that weren't really yours to do or didn't really matter. You were just busy. And then you get to the end of the day feeling like you worked hard, but you got nowhere. And somewhere in the back of your mind is this quiet voice saying, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? Now, Tuesday, in alignment. You wake up and you know what today is for. Not a 47 item to do list, two or three things that actually matter this week that are actually going to move the needle personally and professionally. And they're written down and they're yours. And they align with what you said your priorities were or what your family's priorities were. And you work in a way that suits your energy. Maybe that means that deep focus is in the morning and lighter tasks are in the afternoon. Maybe it means short bursts with breaks. You know your rhythm because you've actually paid attention to it. And when something comes up that isn't yours, a request that doesn't align, a task that should be delegated, you handle it cleanly. You don't carry it and you don't spiral around with guilt about it. You pick up your kids and you're actually there. You're present. Not performing presence, not faking presence, actually present. And at the end of that day, you feel tired, but in a good way. The kind of tired that comes from doing meaningful things, not from managing everyone else's needs while abandoning your own. The same 24 hours, but a completely different experience. Do you feel that? That's what alignment creates. That's why I'm so passionate about it. It's not a perfect day. It's a day that actually feels like yours, where you feel like you are on purpose, with intention, and you're feeling really good about the work. There's still work involved. It's still hard. It's not like this is like the easy street. That is not what I'm trying to paint for you at all, but it is different. And here's something I want to say to all of you high achieving out there specifically, because this one really matters. A lot of you, a lot of us have never actually felt aligned. You may have felt productive. You may have felt accomplished. You may have even felt proud and excited, on fire about a goal, but aligned, sustainably, peacefully, joyfully aligned. I know for a lot of you, it's a no. You haven't felt that. And here's why. You're really good at willpower. You're really good at pushing through. You're good at figuring out what success is supposed to look like and working incredibly hard to get there. How do I know? I am her. But willpower is not alignment. Pushing through is not alignment, friend. Hitting goals that weren't actually yours, that's not alignment either. The woman who is always performing, always managing how she comes across, always measuring herself against someone else's timeline, always trying to make her weaknesses stronger instead of her strengths more powerful, she can look incredibly successful and feel completely lost at the same time. Again, I know her because I've been her. And here's the thing that we don't talk about enough as high achievers, the very skills that made you and I successful, the drive, the discipline, the people pleasing that kept everyone happy, the perfectionism that kept your standards high, those same things can keep you from ever actually resting in who you are, not just in what you do. So alignment requires something different than achievement. It requires self-knowledge. It requires honesty about what you actually want, not what looks good, not what your mentor does, not what would make everyone else proud. It requires the courage to build your life around your actual strengths instead of a generic version of success. And that is the one thing that has to shift before the schedule, before the strategy or the systems can actually work. Not the plan, not the tools, not the routine, you. Specifically, your relationship with who you actually are. Because everything else is built on top of that. And when that foundation is solid, everything gets easier. It's like building your house on the firm foundation. If you're building a house on sand and the storm comes, that house is going down. But if you've built your house on a solid foundation, everything gets easier even when the storms come. So if you've listened to this whole episode, thank you for still being here with me. But if something in you got quiet or something in you got hopeful, I want you to pay attention to that. That's like a response. That's your body like, right? This is information. It means some part of you recognizes that what I described today is possible for you. Like you're actually leaning into the possibility that this could be your life. That the Tuesday in alignment isn't just for someone else. That the felt shifts, the presence, the decisions, the waking up without the weight, those are all available to you too. And here's what I want to offer to you. This is your time to create that. And I have 2 spots open right now for Illuminate You coaching, maybe even just one. And this is my one-on-one coaching program. It's personalized, it's strength-based, it's built around your actual wiring, your real priorities, and the season of life that you're actually in. And the best next step for you, if this podcast episode is resonating with you, if you're like, oh, I want to feel that, or I'm starting to feel that, it does feel possible, but I'm not sure what to do. I want to encourage you to book a clarity call. You go to martinewilliams.com/clarity and book a clarity call. This is where we are going to just talk about where you are, what resonated with you from this episode, where you want to go, and how I'm going to get you there. Because I'm in your corner every step of the way. I'm fighting for your dreams. I'm speaking truth in love, and I'm helping you build a life that actually feels like yours. That's what aligned success is. And that's the method that I walk each and every one of my clients through. So if you've been watching, if you've been waiting, if you've been wondering if now is the time, I want to invite you to book that clarity call. You can go to martinewilliams.com/clarity. There's no pressure on this call. It's a real conversation. And we talk about where you are, where you want to be, and whether coaching together is the best next step for you. The link is also in the show notes, and it takes less than 30 seconds for you to book. Don't wait. Go book it now while you're feeling what you're feeling and you're in possibility. Go book it now. So that's the episode. And if this resonated with you, will you share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear this? She's probably the one you thought of while you were listening, like, oh, we do this, we do somewhere at church too. Oh, I wish so-and-so was here. They really need to hear this. When really it's like, we need to hear it first. But there may be someone else that you thought of while you were listening to this episode. Forward it to her, share it with her. I love doing this work with you. I love doing this podcast for you and for me, because every time I'm teaching you, I'm teaching right back at me too. So I'll catch you on our next episode, and I'm believing in you always. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.